Your baby is hungry. You reach for the jar. The label says organic. There's a sun on the front. You crack the lid, load a spoon, and feed your child something you have believed, since the day they were born, is safe. Maybe your mother used this brand. Maybe your pediatrician mentioned it at the 2-month visit. Maybe you are a grandparent who has been buying this for every grandchild without a second thought because it has always been there and it has always felt safe. You did everything right. What I am about to show you matters because that trust was real, and it was never returned. In 2021, Congress found arsenic, lead, cadmium, and mercury in the most recognized baby food brands in America. The companies had their own internal test results the entire time. None of it appeared on any label. Today, 5 brands with a documented contamination record, 3 that publish independent testing before they sell you anything, and a 3-step recipe with 0 heavy metal exposure pathways. Stay until the end. Brand number 1 is the hardest to hear. You need to be there for it. 20 seconds. Here is what these companies are counting on you to never understand. Heavy metals absorb into crops from contaminated soil. Rice concentrates arsenic at a higher rate than almost any other food crop on Earth. Grind it into rice flour for baby cereal, and the arsenic concentrates further at every step. The FDA knew. The companies knew. Their own internal documents confirmed it. Not one label ever told you. And that silence mattered most during the only neurological window your child will ever have. The first 2 years of life. The window when the brain builds every pathway for language, memory, attention, and emotional regulation. For the rest of their life, heavy metals do not pause for that window. They absorb directly through it. Brand number 5 costs more than everything next to it on the shelf, and when Congress sent a document request to its parent company, they refused to hand anything over. That refusal is in the Congressional record. What a company hides tells you as much as what it shows. Brand number 5. Plum Organics. This is the jar the careful parent chose, the one who switched from conventional to organic the moment they found out they were pregnant, because this baby was not worth a single corner cut. That instinct was exactly right. The certification just never covered this particular threat. Plum Organics is named in multiple active heavy metal class action lawsuits through 2026, alleging elevated arsenic, lead, and cadmium in products marketed as healthy. USDA Organic covers synthetic pesticides. It has 0 jurisdiction over heavy metals. You paid the organic premium. The arsenic did not come with a discount. Campbell's Soup Company, Plum's parent at the time of the investigation, was one of only 3 companies that refused to hand documents to Congress. The subcommittee stated in writing it was greatly concerned the refusal was obscuring contamination potentially higher than what was found at brands that did cooperate. You cannot hide a clean record. They chose not to show theirs. Organic certification. Refused congressional document request. Active federal litigation through 2026. The leaf on the pouch is a design decision. What may be inside is a chemistry decision. Those 2 decisions were never the same. Brand number 4 has been recommended by pediatricians for decades. When the Congressional subcommittee obtained its internal records, what they found was not consistent with the promise on the label. Brand number 4, Earth's Best Organic. Owned by Hanes Celestial Group. This is the one the researching parent landed on. The one who spent the 3rd trimester reading every ingredient list, comparing every option, and chose Earth's Best because it kept appearing on the safe lists. That research was real and thorough. The label just was not giving them the full picture. The 2021 Congressional report cited Earth's Best by name. Internal records showed elevated arsenic and lead across multiple product lines. Products marketed for infants as young as 4 months old. Hanes Celestial has not published comprehensive independent heavy metal test results that any parent can access and verify. Congress asked to see the actual data. What investigators found was not consistent with the word safe on the front of the jar. Congressional citation. No published independent verification. Organic means no synthetic pesticides. It has never meant no heavy metals. Earth's Best charged you for the word. The chemistry was a conversation they never had with you. Now, the number I promised you. Brand number 3's own internal ingredient records showed a single item testing at 913 parts per billion. The FDA limit is 100. nearly 10 times what the FDA permits. That number is now in a permanent federal document that will never be removed. Brand number 3. Beech-Nut. This is the brand grandparents recommend without hesitation. The one passed down across generations because it has simply always been there, and familiarity has always felt like safety. If a grandparent bought this for your baby, it is not their fault. It is not yours. The trust was earned over decades. The jar told a different story than the one on the front. Beech-Nut's internal documents showed a root vegetable concentrate used in production testing going into a jar made for a 4-month-old at nearly 10 times the federal limit. Congressional investigators described those numbers using the words extremely high. That is the United States government's language, reviewing Beech-Nut's own internal records. And the threshold Beech-Nut set for itself, the acceptable contamination limit the company established internally, was not designed to protect a baby. It was designed to make products pass to you, to your baby. 913 parts per billion in their own ingredient test. 9 times the FDA limit. The promise on the front of the jar was simple, nothing artificial. The arsenic was natural, documented internally, and completely absent from the label. Brand number 2 ran a marketing campaign called Clearly Crafted, built entirely on the word transparency. Here is what their own documents submitted to Congress actually showed. Arsenic levels in more than 1 out of every 4 products they tested before shipping. They had the numbers. They shipped anyway. That decision is documented in the Congressional record. Brand number 2, HappyBABY. Owned by Danone, one of the largest food companies on Earth. Whole Foods placement. Higher price point, farm imagery on the packaging, Clearly Crafted, a transparency campaign specifically designed to tell you this brand shows everything. Their own internal data showed products containing up to 180 parts per billion of inorganic arsenic. The FDA guidance limit is 100 parts per billion. More than 25% of the products nurture tested before sale exceeded that threshold. 1 in 4 jars, fed to a baby whose kidneys process toxins at a fraction of adult efficiency, whose developing brain is building the neural architecture it will rely on for the rest of its life. 1 in 4, over the federal limit, reviewed internally, approved, shipped, and handed to a parent who trusted every single word on the label. They tested, they saw the numbers, they shipped anyway. That is not a manufacturing gap. That is a documented decision. I told you brand number 1 would be the hardest. This is it. The most purchased infant food in American history. 9 out of 10 American nurseries. The brand with the baby on the label since 1928. The one the pediatrician mentioned at the 6-month checkup. What Congress found in the company's own buried internal documents is the most significant finding on this entire list, and it involves the most trusted name in the history of American parenting. Brand number 1. Gerber. Owned by the Hero Group, a Swiss conglomerate operating across more than 30 countries. The 2021 Congressional report named Gerber. Internal documents showed all 4 heavy metals: arsenic, lead, cadmium, mercury. Products formulated specifically for infants as young as 4 months old. Here is what those metals do in a body that small. Lead exposure in early childhood does not stay in early childhood. Decades of peer-reviewed research document measurable IQ loss, language delays, attention deficits, and behavioral changes, effects that do not reverse when the exposure stops. The neurological window closes. The damage does not undo itself. The CDC has no safe floor for lead in children because there is no level, none, at which these outcomes do not occur. Arsenic is a Group 1 human carcinogen, the highest classification the World Health Organization assigns. Chronic early exposure has been linked to lifetime cancer risk, cognitive impairment, and immune disruption. Your baby does not feel this happening. These are not effects that show up next week. They show up later, quietly, in a classroom, in a developmental assessment, in a pediatrician's office years from now when no one can explain why, and no one connects it back to a jar. Your infant's blood-brain barrier does not fully develop until age 2. The companies had the internal test results. Congress obtained the documents. Not one jar label ever disclosed what was inside. The Gerber baby is a design decision. The internal testing results in the Congressional record are a chemistry decision. Those 2 decisions were never the same. all 4 heavy metals in their own documents. The most trusted name in baby food history. The effects of that contamination do not stay in infancy. They follow a child forward. Thankfully, 3 brands built the model differently. Not because Congress forced them to. Because they decided parents deserve the actual numbers before the product ever left the warehouse. Here are the 3 safe brands. Safe Brand 1, Serenity Kids. Batch by batch heavy metal test results published publicly before you buy. Actual parts per billion, not a certification badge. No rice-based ingredients. The arsenic pathway the Congressional report documented is absent from the puree formulation. One note, lead safe. Mama flagged Serenity Kids. Cassava-based puff snacks for heavy metals. Stay with the puree pouches, not the puffs. Available at Whole Foods, Target, and online. Safe Brand 2, Little Spoon. Third-party testing results published publicly before purchase. Lead Safe Mama. Independently tested. 5 Little Spoon baby blend flavors in their 2024 community-funded testing program. All 5 returned non-detect for lead. Mercury, cadmium, and arsenic. Not low, not within limits. Non-detect. Not named in the Congressional investigation or the primary class action litigation. The testing is real. The numbers are public. The absence from the legal record is documented. Safe Brand 3, Once Upon a Farm. Refrigerated and cold-pressed. The refrigeration model eliminates the shelf-stable manufacturing process that created the contamination environment in every brand on the avoid list. Not in the Congressional record. Not named in the primary heavy metal lawsuits. Find it refrigerated at Whole Foods and Target. If you are a grandparent watching this, write these 3 names down before the next baby shower or the next time you are picking something up for a grandchild. Serenity Kids. Little Spoon. Once Upon a Farm. These are the brands that published the results the others buried. The cleanest baby food in America is the food you make yourself. 3 steps. 20 minutes. No equipment you do not already own. Step 1. Steam 1 ingredient. Sweet potato, butternut squash, peas or apple, 1 at a time. Peel, chop, steam 10 minutes until completely soft. These are among the lowest arsenic whole foods you can feed an infant and among the most nutritionally dense for early neurological development. Step 2. Blend with filtered water. Not tap. Filtered. Tap water in many American cities still contains detectable lead from aging infrastructure. Your baby's food is not the place to introduce a second heavy metal exposure pathway. Step 3. Freeze in an ice cube tray. Each cube is 1 serving. Transfer to a labeled bag. 2 weeks of single-ingredient baby food ready to go. 1 ingredient. You chose it. You washed it. You made it. There is no corporation between you and your child's meal. No internal testing threshold. No congressional subcommittee. No class action lawsuit. Just you and 1 ingredient you can name. That is not a small thing. 5 brands. 1 congressional investigation. All 4 heavy metals documented in the internal records of the most trusted baby food name in American history. 3 brands that published their results before anyone forced them to. A 20-minute recipe. The effects of early heavy metal exposure do not announce themselves. They do not arrive next week or next month. They arrive later, quietly, in a classroom, in a developmental assessment. In a moment, no parent ever connects back to a jar. You cannot change what happened before today. But you are watching this right now. And that means you can change what happens next. Your baby cannot read the label. They are entirely dependent on what you put in front of them. You now know what to look for, and you know what to make instead. If this changed how you look at the jar in your cabinet, share it with 1 parent who needs to see it. If you are a grandparent watching this, share it with your children before the next grocery run. They are trusting the same brands you trusted. Now you know what to tell them. Comment below which brand you are switching from and what you are moving to. And if you have not seen my investigation into dish soap, the plates your family eats from 3 times a day, that one hits just as hard. Stay clean. See you next time on Grocery Exposed. What's really in your cart?